Okay. Coming in, we are coming live here. So we are live. You can all share it. Peter, whenever you kick off, guys.
Dear viewers, this is Peter Deng from Africa World Book. Tonight, our guest speakers are from Foundation House, which will be addressing issues regarding coronavirus and the impact of coronavirus on the people. Dr. Santino Atem will brief us of what the program is, and I apologize for any inconvenience. Thank you, Dr. Santino. You can introduce guest speakers and the topic of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and apology for those who have been waiting for this, because this is something that we send live after a while now. So, and unfortunately, the Zoom that we have wouldn't allow us to share it live, because we want to have the panelists together here. We're supposed to be 4 of us on the panel, but the V Live that we have only take 3 people. Figure out the technology next time when we have this kind of session. I'm not gonna introduce the rest; they will introduce themselves. Sarah Berberi, who is our other colleague, counselor with the Foundation House, is waiting to step in soon. After one of us step back to allow her to step in, but I will let them, those who are on the panel here, to introduce themselves, and then we will proceed from there with the topic of the day. So I will ask Deng to introduce himself.
Yes, thank you very much, Santino Deng. My name is Deng Riak, and I'm a counsel advocate at Foundation House.
Winnie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And like Santino said, we apologize for the delay. My name is Winniy Manyang. I'm a project support officer in a program called You Can Too with Foundation House.
Your voices are very far. I don't know whether I'm the only one experiencing it, but we will check from those who are watching later if they can hear us clearly. And I hope Peter will help us also to monitor that to make sure that our volume is up, because we are on V Live. Later, if they can hear us clearly. And I hope Peter will help us also to monitor that to make sure that our volume is up. Oh, sorry, I can hear myself. Okay. We'll go into today what we were going to talk about. As you heard from this professional that are here, we are from this community, and our role is always to provide counseling support, advocacy, and so many other things. We thought that given the situation that we are in at the moment, to have this kind of session from time to time, so that we can talk about, the challenges to do with COVID-19. The topic of our day is coping strategies during COVID-19 pandemic, lockdown, and stress-related issues or challenges that people might be facing while navigating their way through this pandemic and lockdown that we are in at the moment. The agenda of what we are going to discuss, or this kind of overarching session, include um, how to manage stress-related issues, including looking after oneself and general well-being. And this might to do with the stress, whether people are isolated, or they have COVID-19, or they kind of worried about family members and community members. And then the other point will be, children education, really, children at home, being educated at home. What are the challenges and what can be done to alleviate these challenges? Managing children behavior is another thing that keep coming up. And we also have some ideas that we can share on how to manage children behavior, especially when children are confined into a small space. Um, they have so much energy that they want to unleash, but because they're not able to get rid of that energy, because when they go to school, they have the opportunity to play sports and doing other things. But if we are in the lockdown, that can be difficult. What are the myths about COVID-19? We can ask ourselves this question, and we can discuss about the myths of regarding this COVID-19 as well. So, as I said, these are our panelists, and people can ask questions. If you can help us when there are some questions that are coming in, so you can pose them for us and
Yes.
put them back to bring them to the panelists. But before we proceed into discussing the things, I just want to also update ourselves on what is on DHHS website for those who live in Victoria. And we know that the number of cases yesterday was a bit lower than today. But currently we have a very high number of cases in Victoria, more than anywhere else in Australia. We know that there are some outbreaks in some places, and our community, especially South Sudanese, is impacted so much in that regard. We need to look at the key messages as well. How to look after ourselves, making sure that we're not catching this disease wherever they arise. So what I will do at this point in time, I will ask Deng and Winniy to chip in and say something, reflecting on those questions that we put out there. And I will come in on some strategies as well. And then from there, we'll see, maybe one of us will step back and ask Sarah to step in as well.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the role played by Foundation House, especially in Melbourne when I first arrived in Australia. The first person to visit me was from Foundation House, and I'm privileged and glad to have been the host of your team today. And the role of which many of you are playing, you are really doing a wonderful job. And I don't know whether people are aware of the role played by Foundation House. People like Sarah, they have been there for long, which is good. And I think you have joined. Now, with regard to coronavirus, there are issues related to lockdowns. How do people manage stress issues related to coronavirus, and including looking after oneself and the general well-being, because there is anxiety? So, if Winnie could answer that, how do we manage it? It is just not a normal stress, but it is something associated with coronavirus, be it financial, be it loss of job. How do we really overcome such issues?
Thank you for that question. Very good question and something very broad. Um, I think that the issue of coronavirus is something that we need to look at as a whole and as a community. It is something that we're all facing at the same time. There's not a single person that's exempt from this, and there's not a single person that's invincible and that can go without being affected. So if it doesn't affect you physically, it'll affect you either financially, emotionally, in so many other ways that have consumed our lives at this point. And I think that the responsibility of dealing with such a crisis like COVID is in all of our hands as a community and as a country as a whole. Um, I think some of you may have heard about the term flatten the curve, which is something that we all have to partake in, which it's something that if we follow the rules that are put forth by the government, if we follow the rules that are put forth by health professionals, and we stay home, the sooner we can get out of this pandemic. But while we are in this pandemic, I think it's really, really important for us to support one another. It's really important for us to be informed of what's happening around us. So the way that you can do that is by following the information provided on the EHS website. Watching the news. But while you're watching the news, it's important to limit your consumption and the amount of time you spend on this. Some of the information that we hear can become really toxic and really draining, then leads to other mental
Um,
health problems.
Maybe there is background noise. If someone can mute and stop, talking. There is a mute button at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
sorry, Winnie, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, it's really important to, even though we need to be informed and we need to know what's going on around us, on within our families, within the country, within the city, it's really, really important to know when to limit your consumption of media, because the things that we see on social media about people dying of the sickness, and people being ill, and this people being affected financially, people losing jobs, all of that stuff, when we consume that, it becomes too much for our brain, for our minds, and it can send you into a place of feeling hopeless. It can send you into a place of fear, of being afraid of things that are around you. So it's really important to take time out. In doing that, you should still partake in the normal things that you were doing before. So if you're somebody who is working from home or you're studying from home, try to keep a schedule. Try to keep a schedule in that you wake up at the same time between Monday and Friday. You prepare yourself for the day, you have breakfast, you get ready physically so that you can feel a little bit normal to some degree. And I think having that kind of schedule just keeps your mental health a little bit stable, in that you still feel like you have a routine and you still feel like you have something to look forward to. You should also partake in some exercise, even just going for a walk for a few minutes throughout the day, or doing a bit of exercise in your backyard. Call your friends, check on your loved ones over the phone. Try your best to avoid physical contact with people. I understand that this is something new for all of us, and in our community, when something negative happens, or when we're going through a tough time in our lives, we congregate usually, and we're there for each other physically. In this time, if we all take the responsibility of contributing to our society and helping each other in flattening this curve, we have to learn other means of communication, which are things like what we're doing now on this live video. It's a very great initiative. It's brought us all here together, and we're able to contribute our support to one another. So things like phone calls, things like Zoom, things like FaceTime, Messenger, all of those things are really important for us to look at. And if you're affected by work or by school, it's really important to know who to contact. If it's through work, you might have someone like a contact officer, some sort of management that you can contact, and just, express your worries and express your concerns, and then that way you can be forwarded and led into the right direction to address your issues. I know that if you're a university student as well, you can contact the administration's office, you can contact your professors if you're needing help with extensions or needing help with any extra work that you're struggling with. So just reaching out. The most important thing to do is reach out, because there is so much support available to us. We just don't know about it. So it's really important that we continue to have discussions like this, so that people are given resources and that people know where to direct their fears and their worries. So in all, I would just say I really, really encourage you guys to seek support, to talk to one another, to help one another. And that way, as a community, we're able to tackle this illness both physically and emotionally.
Yeah, thank you so much, Willie. Deng, if you can add something on the same topic, it's of concern, and you are a counselor, so we need your advice on how we can look after ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say at the outset that our experiences are not similar, although there are overarching similarities where we are all in a lockdown. We are all required to wear masks. We are all required to have one member of the household to go and do shopping for the family. The number of time that we take for work, it's limited to 1 hour per day. How far from our house we can travel is 5 kilometers. So when you look at those parameters, they are the same. But then if you then drill down to the specific, each and every person's experience is totally different. The three of us who are working for Foundation House here, I can say we are privileged in that we have the ability to continue working through this COVID-19, and we are working from home, and therefore we are able to attend to our families and continue to earn a living and contribute to the society. But for others, they've lost their work. They're having to be home in a very crowded environment. The stress level is going up. Their children are learning from home, and they, as parents or guardians, do not have the skills to be able to attend to their children. So when we look at those, individual experiences, it can actually it can compound the pain that each one of us is experiencing. Again, how each person responds to this or reframe the experience can also determine how well they will fare through this pandemic and how better they will come out from the other side. If people look at it as, a very bad experience, it's going to hit them really hard, there's no way out of this, then that's where they're going to get stuck. But those who are reframing it perhaps as an opportunity, and again, I'm stressing that those who have lost their job, what I'm saying here may not sit well with them, and it doesn't relate to them, but it's relating to maybe some people like us who have, opportunities, have jobs. We could look at it as a time to spend with our families, let the children and ourselves enjoy that particular time. We are hardly at home, and it reduces so much the traveling time. We can now, during the day, go for a walk with our children and our partners. We can gather and have some fixed routines about, how we do certain activities around the house. Yeah, lunch, we can eat as a family. Dinner, we can eat as a family. We will have the luxury to be able to put our kids to bed, tell them bedtime stories, and things of that kind. But for other people, they don't have that luxury. And it's really important, no matter your circumstances as well, to try and, put in place routines, know that this too will pass. You got to have a hope that it is an experience, but a time will come when this will be over. When it will be is what we don't know, but we can be hopeful that it's going to be over.
Oh, that's very good, very precise. Dr. Santino, the same question. How do we look after ourselves?
As Deng and Winnie said, there are so many strategies that are out there for people to use. But the most important thing to know is actually the strategies of coping with anything really. It's about understanding what are the issues itself, what is the issue itself, and the challenges that you have, because self-awareness is what help us as human to be able to tackle or to cope with any situation that we are in. When you establish that self-awareness, you move to the next level, and that is to acknowledge that issue itself. Because most of the time, some people want to suppress their feeling. Suppressing your feeling is like a crying baby who may be sick or need some attention or want some food, but you actually not giving attention. But the only way that the baby can be heard and given attention is to cry, obviously. So the same thing with our feelings. Our feeling, when we suppress them, they're not going to go away. They will disturb you throughout. So what you do when you acknowledge them, you're becoming aware of them, you acknowledge them, and then you then focus on here and now. Here and now focus would be to do with the fact that maybe, let's say, the coronavirus came. What you need to do is to universalize it. Say I'm not the only one that is being impacted by it. That is the most important thing, because when we personalize things, or when we think that this is happening to me only, that is where it becomes very hard for us. But if we know that it is universal and is affecting so many other people, that is one point of trying to normalize it as much as you can. And then also the next step is here with us. So you have to find ways on how to cope with it. So you need to equip yourself with all the information that are available that you need. I know there are some information sometimes that are not really helpful. They are misleading, and we need to rely on the right information. So people can be quite distressed during disease outbreak as such, and sometimes it can cause so many things. So one of them would be fear and worried about your own health and the health of your loved ones and other family members, especially those who are vulnerable. And that include your financial situation, as Deng said, or you lost your job, support service you have. Our people used to visit each other, used to come together, because we come from a collectivist cultures where support is something that you can get from the community members and so forth. Changes, it can lead to changes in sleep. I mean, sitting in the house all the time, not doing much, it can affect your sleep, because our body also need to have a bit of exercise, sort of balance in our body. So your eating pattern might change. Some people might eat a lot more because they are quite distressed. Others might eat less, and that can impact on your health in one way or another. The difficulty is sleeping and sometimes concentrating on things that you want to do, and maybe easy to lose temper with children. And that is another set of topic which we're going to talk about, how to manage children behaviors during this COVID-19. Some may have some kind of worsening chronic health condition that it might deteriorate whatever they have, maybe the sugar level, the blood pressure, and so many other things can start to deteriorate. The worsening of mental health condition, which is something that we tend to ignore a lot in our community as well. But our mental well-being is as much the same as our body. Yeah. The sickness that we have in our body is the same thing that we can feel in our brain and our mind if we struggle. It doesn't mean that someone is cursed or mental health is something that is really bad. It's just when we struggle, we always have mental health. And mental health is not actually, there is difference between mental health and mental illness or any other mental condition. So mental health or general well-being, our body is interconnected. And because our body is interconnected, anything that affects our body will affect our mind as well. During this stress, also people might end up, using, a lot of tobacco. I don't know if it is a problem in our community. Alcohols and other substances can be abused quite easily, especially when you sit there, you feel bored, you want to do something that will just relieve you a bit from all this, the struggle that you're in. But most importantly, during this chronic coronavirus situation, feeling stressed or overwhelmed is very, very common based on the some people that I came across, feeling anxious, worried, and fearful of life and so forth. Racing thought can be there as well. Some people feel sad, and if you end up feeling tearful all the time or loss of interest in your usually enjoyable sort of activities, that is a signal. There are a lot of services that can support, but what we are trying to do now at this point in time, we understand that some services might not be appropriate for our people, but you can always contact us and other members of the community, and we can work that out to see support that can be confidential. And what I'm saying here, I'm not saying to those, just the audience who are here, but you might know some people that are struggling in the community. As we know, for the last couple of weeks, we've been doing shopping for families that are confined into their houses. That is the spirit of support that we want to have. This in the events of this situation as well, a lot of other things can happen, such as frustration and irritability or getting angry quite easily. And that can lead to a lot of domestic issues, a lot of domestic violence. We need to watch out. Restlessness and feeling agitated all the time are some of the things that are coming up quite strongly. As I said, difficult concentrating and sleeping. But I want to give just few tips on managing anxiety during this COVID-19. One of the tips that is really important, seem to work quite well for some people, is actually having your channel, you need to channel your anxiety or energy into some action. Because when you have so much energy, you need to do something with it. I know some people would find something, not human being, but or they just go into their room, cover their head with pillows and cry out as loud as they can. I know these are really hard for people to get out their feelings. It's not part of what we know in our culture, but also when you have children around, there are a lot that you can bottle in making sure that children are safe in that environment and they don't see you stress out. But part of channeling your energy and anxiety into action is to get informed, plan and prepare for any eventuality of what is going on during this COVID-19. You also need to limit or avoid unhelpful media and misinformation. We know that there are a lot of information being thrown out there on Facebook and so forth. You need to limit that, because the more you get engaged into this information, the more it will increase your anxiety level. You may not feel it at a time, but it will build up slowly and gradually. Like when you're filling up something, if you're using, for example, a small container to fill up a bucket with water, it will not fill up at once. So the same things, our emotion, our anxiety level will fill up slowly and gradually until it reach to a certain level where it become very hard for you to cope. The other thing is also cutting down or stop the behaviors that are fueling your anxiety. And this could be, the action that we perform in our daily life, trying to, get our frustration out of somebody else. Even the road rage could be one of those for those who are driving, but people are not driving a lot. But as Deng said, There are some people that are still going to work because they don't have the opportunity to do it from home like we do. Some of us do. Staying focused is on here and now, as I said earlier, is very important, and that is taking each day step by step. Try to focus on the here and now is very important, really, because not focusing on the past that you cannot change, but we can always improve the future. So live in the moment and take action day at a time, because we can get overwhelmed quite easily because of that. Be aware of negative thought and don't give them too much power. As I said, our feelings and emotion speak to us. They can control us. We can become very negative because of that, because those thoughts can control us. But you actually need to manage them. You don't need to control your feeling. You need to manage your feeling. That is acknowledging your feelings, whatever that they want to hear, bad stuff or whatever it is, but then focus on the future, focus on here and now, which you can do something. I'm about to finish, Peter, but
Yep.
I will just add a couple of more things. Also, looking after your body, and that is getting enough sleep, doing exercise, eating well, avoid smoking for those who smoke. Excessive alcohol can also, and other drug can also lead to a lot of problems. And this will help protect your mental well-being and give you some kind of immune system in your body that can help protect you from any other vulnerability that might have that can lead to other disease or COVID-19 become very hard for you to overcome. Staying connected with others. We need to have this kind of platform as a community to be talking to each other. I know that there are talks sometimes that are, people think that they are helpful, but they're not helpful. But sometimes we can have those informal talk or have this kind of platform to have conversation and share our ideas. Although we are giving this presentation, but next time we will make sure that we interact more so that people can step in, especially when we set the Zoom properly. That will take about 300 people. People can step in and we can all see each other and talk to each other and share ideas, because as Deng said, people have different experience, and each of us have different experience. So also part of being us is to help each other. Be kind and compassionate to others all the time, because that is really important. It helps us, it helps that person. Part of doing this also is take a breath. When you feel overwhelmed, take a few slow, deep breath and so forth. I know these are, sounding very foreign to us, but actually they help us calm down as human. So if there are other people that can help you relax, or other thing that can help you, you talk to those people, or you go for a walk or listen to music and doing so many other things. But above all, when there is need for help, don't just sit there with it all the time. Seek help. If you're not sure, talk to a community member, and they will know someone who knows someone to connect you to some kind of support. At the moment, there are other support that we are giving, and we are linked to other
All
support.
right.
Like, for example, those who are struggling, who don't have food and they are quarantined or tested positive, and they need some kind of, if they need some kind of support to be, for a shopping or something like that, they can also contact us, so that we can connect them to where they can be given some food that they need, because we know the challenges that some people are struggling to apply online or to connect with other support services. So yeah, do contact us and we will know where to connect you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Santino. The question will go to Deng Riak.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or how can you really advise other parents? How do you cope with work and children is studying at home at the same time?
yeah, that's a challenging part. The what compounds this stress is that other support services that would have been around you to help lessen the load is no longer in place. The friends that you would have called upon if you are going to work is no longer available to you. The relative that you would have called to come is no longer, available to you. If your children were doing sports or any other activities, perhaps those activities allowed you the time to attend to other things, or even go to work and get someone else to take them there. And when you come from there, that's when you pick them up and you go home. So people are quite stretched on many fronts because the support system is no longer in place. How do you cope with this? I feel so much for single parents out there because they don't have an extra pair of hands to be able to manage with this. And I know within the community that some single parents who had secured work have now been able to, even on their own volition, give up that work because of the requirement to be able to stay with their children. I know that there is, an exemption or support for the children of workers who are essential. I mean, people who are essential workers. But some people choose because they want to protect their own health and want to protect the health of their own family. That it's no longer viable for them to go to work and contract the disease and bring it back home. And so, and again, their absence from home brings up more challenges. So in the end, they said, no, I don't want to continue working. I might as well give up my work and be able to come home and support my children. That in itself is stress. And now the children are at home. Your house is a mess because children are running around. The food which you have given them to eat is being, consumed and thrown around, which means, now there's a lot of things that you need to attend to. And in that sense, what I can tell parents is to try their best to be organized. In my own case, I try to go onto the children's study portal to look at the materials for the coming week and be able to print that out, ready to go for Monday. And I've got it all planned out till the end of the week. And so when they have their lessons, I'm already ahead of that and I provide the information to them in order for them to do their studies, and then go in every now and then to help supervise. As you can see, there's children here as well, and that is part of the challenge. So what I will do is to get them out and let Winnie step in for now. It's a demonstration of what we are contending with.
That's a good example of what we are talking about.
That's very good. I will have a different question for Winnie, because her being a youth, and there are restrictions on the movements, and sometimes young people seem not to follow the regulations without knowing the implications. Now, Winnie, how are the youth dealing with these lockdowns? Are they law-abiding? And what are the psychological impacts, and especially those who are living by themselves?
Yeah, that's a very big topic on its own as such, because if we talk about people following, if we look at it as a means of people following the law, then it's one thing on its own. And then if we look at it as people, not being able to handle the isolation period. Sorry, speaking of children, my younger brother's at the door. Let's tell him to go away. One second. Sorry, guys. So there's two different ways to look at it, and when we look at it as from the isolation perspective, I think that young people were very social, and our way of life is to sort of we don't really like being in the house as much. We come into the house basically to sleep, to eat, and exit. Our lives prior to coronavirus were based on going to uni, going to work, and socializing with your friends, going to parties, doing all these other things that you would normally do as part of your day-to-day, and we don't have access to that anymore. So there's only so much social media that we can use as young people, and I think obviously social media is a great means of us connecting, but recently that's kind of turned against us, in the sense that a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing on social media these days has been very, very confronting. and really, really difficult to sort of take in, without feeling distressed, without feeling like you need to leave the house, without feeling like you need to do something else that isn't being on your screen. Because from the morning, from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock, I'm on Zoom, I'm on a computer. Everything that I do, whether it's interacting with friends, whether it's work, it's just the computer. And it gets to a point where you become irritable, like what Santino was saying earlier. You become irritable, and there's this urge to leave the house. So you might think that for 2 seconds, nobody's going to catch me. I'm just going to go and catch up with my friend. We're going to go for a walk. The next thing you know, you're in that friend's house or something. The police catches you, you cop a fine. You cop a fine of up to $1,600. And quite frankly, it's not worth it for that small amount of time that you're going to go and see your friend. But it's just fighting that urge and finding other means to deal with that urge is really, really important. I think that it's really good that we learn other means of self-care that are not physically seeing our friends and physically having to leave the house. Because the good thing is about stage 4, which makes it a bit different to stage 3, is that there's actually nowhere to go because everywhere is closed. So if you leave the house, you're just really gallivanting, and you can go for a drive, but there's nowhere to go. So in this sense now, I think that a lot of young people are staying home, apart from the ones that are congregating in other houses with their friends. Whereas previously, other places were sort of open with restrictions of how many people could be in those spaces. So back to means of coping and how young people are dealing with that. I think that young people particularly are very, very affected by that. And if we go back to a smaller scope of young people, I think the young people that are involved with the justice system, the ones that are coming in and out of prison, they're the ones that I think all of us here would be very concerned about. Because me myself, somebody with a clean criminal record, if I go outside and I'm caught by the police, I could just cop a fine. It's one slap on the wrist. I have to deal with how to make that payment. But somebody who is unemployed, is known to police, is sort of just in a more sort of vulnerable category, who then goes outside and gets caught and cops a fine, can face more than what I was going to face. So I think it's really important for us to be aware of the rules that are out there and be aware that police are actually enforcing these things. It's not just what we're hearing on the news, or it's not our parents telling us you have to stay home. We actually have to stay home to avoid all of those things from happening, and to keep for our health and our safety. It's really important to stay home as well. So that's one thing. And then if we move back onto the media, like I was mentioning before, there have been several situations where young people of African background, particularly young people of Sudanese background, have been victimized by the media in terms of the breaches that have been happening. And there was a case a few weeks ago where 2 young women who are not of Sudanese background but are of African background breached the restriction rules in Queensland. And at the first instance when this happened, it was blamed on South Sudanese people. And, the media has done that to us in so many different ways, whether it's, the stuff with the African gangs, whether it's any crimes being committed, we are always the first to be vilified by the media. And when that happened, a lot of people in the Australian community were suggesting things like people, these girls should be deported, they should face jail time, big, big, big harsh punishments, which were not put forth when other people in the Australian community breached the same rules. So it's become very, very difficult for people, because if you're being vilified and you're being, named a criminal when you actually haven't done anything that is so wild compared to other people in society, it makes you feel like you want to rebel. Sometimes it makes you feel like, maybe I should do something actually now, because I'm already being blamed and I've done nothing. So that's a struggle that I think young people are facing, but we just have to keep, ourselves as accountable as possible. If we are doing the wrong thing, we need to hold ourselves accountable. But if we're not doing the wrong thing, it's really important to call those people out. It's really important for us to address those people in the media and those people, in politics that are vilifying us and creating this image of us that is in fact false. All of those things are quite important, but it's inevitable. It's impossible to stop people from staying home, particularly young people, because they will rebel and they will do as they please. But if we put the information out there and that people are aware of the different supports that they can get, and people are aware of the law, then I think that we can minimize it to some degree. Cancelling it altogether, I'm not sure, but I think we can work towards minimizing the amount of movement that young people are doing.
Are young people aware of service available like Foundation House and other areas? Are they familiar with those services? And if you were to speak on their behalf, what do you think would be the first thing we need immediate address from the community?
I think obviously some young people are aware, the ones that are sort of involved in a lot of settlement services and a lot of support services, social services like Foundation House, but the greater majority of young people are not aware because these services are not necessarily accessible through the means in which young people can access, like social media, like, not many young people are on Facebook anymore. It's kind of been left to the older people. So the social media platforms like TikTok, like Snapchat, like Instagram are what young people are using, and these services are not really advertised on those platforms. So I think that the more we have discussions like this and we invite other young people to participate, the message can then be forwarded onto other young people that are vulnerable and that are in situations where they need access to information. I also know that young people don't really sit there and watch the news day in and day out. We'd rather be watching Netflix and we'd rather be doing, other things. So passing information to them, particularly during a time like this where people have to stay at home, is very, very difficult. So yeah, I just encourage more discussions like this, and I encourage the invitation of other young people that are involved in the community, other young people that are activists, other young people that are just heavily involved and are more aware. That way they can then educate themselves to go and educate other young people.
That's very good. I think we will take someone off and invite Sarah. Dr. Santino, with your parenting skill, you're a practitioner in that area. What advice would you really give to parents who are struggling with the children at home, with studies, and also, with a limited skill in English?
Sorry, so maybe I'll exit
Okay.
because the topic
Okay.
that all of you can discuss, including Sarah. So I'll exit so Sarah can come in.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Winnie. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Sarah, if you can see us, you can now join in, and Peter will admit you.
Yep.
We'll wait for Sarah then.
Yeah, I think continue because.
Oh, okay. Sorry, what was your question again?
The question is about the home school and the parents, how they can cope with. Hello, Dr. Santino. Santino.
Yeah, hello. I'm hearing you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So how can they cope? Educating their children at home.
Before,
I have seen a dude here saying that am I almost giving up my future?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, continue, Dr. Santino.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, it is the same question. How do...
Oh, okay. And I was just talking about the comment.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. What about, is Sarah coming?
Yeah, she will join, so...
Anyway, as I was about to start, what I was just starting with a comment from a dude that said, am I almost giving up my course due to this homeschooling things? I know that a lot of parents are really struggling, juggling either their jobs or their own studies, children education. I know we have only our daughter is only at the FRAP level, but the activities that are being done just only in one day are so much. A lot of drawing, a lot of videos, a lot of, I don't know if they used to do them at school, but it seemed like it's just overloading. And that kind of make it hard for a lot of parents and those who are teaching kids at home, because you have other things to do now. Educating your own children or sibling become your own responsibility rather than being the role that school used to play. So that add to some of the things that I was talking earlier about, on top of stress related to with coronavirus and so forth. So there is no fixed answer really on how to tackle that. But what you need to do, depending on what level your children are, level of schoolings, or whether they are in primary school, prep, or secondary school. All you need to do is, for example, you need to kind of make a good plan so that kids can themselves do a lot of work without you getting more involved. Because what happened for a lot of parents, sometimes they want to rescue them. They want to rescue their children. And for that reason, you just step in and wanting to finish the homework for them quickly. So that, I don't know, Sarah is saying that it's not letting her in. So some parents would step in to try to rescue their children and finish the homework for them, especially if they are a bit grown up. Honestly, give them more opportunity to do the work so that you don't have to stress yourself out. More you set the scene so that they can do the work themselves, the better that they will get used to it. And you can always supervise a young one and a bit old and in the middle somewhere. And especially, what I'm hearing, some parents, they don't even have enough devices to log on in the morning to attend classes and in their education. And this can add another sort of distress. So that means children wait for the computer to do their work. Other children, while other children are doing their work on there. So parents need to look into also maybe trying to ask if there are support that they can get for devices so that children can have enough devices to do their work and activities at home. That will also reduce down the fact that you might end up, having children taking 10 to go and do the work that they're supposed to be doing during school time. The other thing also is getting support. You talk to other people, ask them how they're doing. Sharing is caring. Share ideas. Share what you know. Ask what you don't know, because asking is not being stupid or being seen as someone who doesn't know anything, but asking actually clarify a lot of things that we want to do as human beings. So we can always have the opportunity to ask, even if something that we know and we're not 100% sure. When you ask, it does help clarify a lot of things. So there are a lot of support out there, and our community members can be supported to transition out of this situation that we are in. But hopefully it will go away. And as I said, there is no one magic sort of answer to how to solve the problem at home, but you just need to have some plan so that you can see what are you going to be doing each day with your child or with your children, so that it doesn't become out of control. Because most of the time when we have issues, so many of them, and we don't seem to kind of break them down into manageable tasks, they become like out of proportion, and you feel like you can't control the situation. The situation is out of control. There is nothing is out of control, just that you need to have a bit of planning to be able to manage those.
Yeah.
Thank
Now,
you.
there was a book. It is pre-online and it has been translated into Arabic and it is in English about coronavirus. It's a book for children. How do people manage children behavior during these lockdowns when parents are kind of frustrated, children are exhausted, feeling bored? So then, if you could give us, again, it is kind of the same question, but it's coming in a different context. How do you manage children when you are tired, you feel upset? What would be your advice to parents who may express their anger on children who are also very disappointed because of lockdown?
Yeah, the issue of children is one of the things that is draining a lot of people. But at the same time, I hear from single people that without children, that they also envy those that have children and pets within their homes, because their children can bring joy. There are people that you can communicate to, you can have fun with. But yes, when you have children, there's a lot of responsibility that is involved. And as I said before, they'll be running around, they'll be making a lot of noise, and making the house dirty. There's a lot of cleanup that you need to do. And that adds to the number of chores that you have to do at the home front. And so there's no easy fix for this. But what I normally tell people is to try and, again, put in place routines so that children are able to go to bed quite early, get enough sleep, have shower in the morning so that they're feeling fresh, dressed nice. If you're already organized in putting out printed materials and you know what is coming up for the day, that also helps. During the day, whenever you've got a bit of time and they are on their break, go out for a walk with them. Come back. If you have got play equipments in the backyard, let them run around. That will drain their energy so that come the evening hours, they're quite ready to eat, have a bath, and go to bed. And with that, you can be able to have a little bit of your own time, even just to breathe and look up other things if you can. But yeah, it's quite a challenging thing. And often I tell people, parents, that you are the expert of your own children, and beating them up or laying a hand on them or shouting at them, quite often doesn't give you any good results. Try to talk to them, but I mean, there are times that you need to be firm with them, and you need to take that action. You will feel it yourself. What is the best time that you need to be firm with your children so that they know their boundaries, and have a lot of discussion with them as well about coronavirus. What do they think? Where did they hear about coronavirus? What is the impact on them? If there's if time permits for you to be able to explore the understanding of it, the impact on them. They're also missing their friends. They're missing things that they used to enjoy. They're missing going to the park. They're missing, going to the shops as well with you, because those trips, they would see a lot of things. That is in itself, you can see the light in their faces, and this is no longer there. So that stress in them as well is what is causing them to behave in the way they are. I also encourage parents to be able to reach out to services, also communicate with their multicultural education aides about school stuff. I know they are also stretched, to the max because of the number of people that are calling to seek their help. But yeah, I think they are there, and they have got people that can support them to manage that. And it's good for the system to know that this is a much needed resources. So parents don't need to, deny themselves of the opportunity to be able to reach out to those supports because those supports are overwhelmed. Keep putting, pressure on those support and utilize them so that the system knows that these people are needed more in the community for people to be able to function. But what I can say is, let's hope that this 6 weeks that we are in lockdown will hopefully be the last.
Oh, that's very good. Dr. Santino, over years you have been dealing with parents, especially through parenting programs. Many parents are now, frustrated staying with the children for 24/7, 7 days a week. It is a big pressure. And the children are also facing the same. It's kind of like zero grazing, keeping them in the same place. What advice would you give to parents, and especially the children behavior? How can they identify that children are also experiencing sort of stress?
Yeah, I will start with what Deng said earlier, that parents are bosses, are boss. If you're a boss, caregiver or parent, you are the boss in that house. Don't let the children control you, but not controlling them either, but managing their behaviors, because what it is the parenting that is very effective is authoritative parenting. And that is where when families or parents set a very firm kind of guideline, there is nothing important than to have a plan, have a proper plan on how to tackle behaviors. If you don't have ideas, for instance, you can look for them, can look for particular certain particular part of behaviors that is undesirable in the family or within your household. You need to tackle that part of the behaviors to change. For example, if because kid refuse to go to bed at a particular time, you need some ideas around that so that you can make sure that they are going to bed on time. If they are not listening, you also have to have some plan and ideas on how to make sure that they can listen to you. And most importantly, as I said, um, really kind of having some plan, as Deng said, time to read, time to play, even some music. It's an opportunity now that you need to teach your children even your own language. For example, a lot of kids don't speak the mother tongue. This is an opportunity. If you have a structure, it can be difficult at the beginning of it, but most of the time, children can get used to whatever that you are teaching them, whatever that you are imparting on them. So you make sure that you set up some time to have a bit of lesson about your own language during the day. I know it can be quite stressful when there are a lot of activities during the day, but the time that you have them and they feel bored and they have so much energy, use it as an opportunity to learn their language. Use it as an opportunity also to educate them about other things, about home country and about here. And even talking about coronavirus, asking them what do they know about coronavirus, having a discussion, because children learn from being challenged with hard question or encouraged to ask question, so that they can be more into it, so that they can be more creative and to know a lot about things that they don't know. As I said, the master of all behaviors is to make sure that the energy they have, you make sure that the energy they have is got rid of. Because if that energy remain in themselves, they're not going to settle down. They're going to be rustling around and doing so many other things that undesirable for you as
How, how,
parent.
how do
So
we
you need to
how do
plan.
we get rid of the energy in them? Give us an example.
Energy is like some of the things Deng said earlier. You need to have some plan, even some music to dance, and let them exhaust themselves for a very long time, so that they can, so that they can learn about that dance and to be able to get the energy to sweat a lot. I see some parents are doing it. They even do it on, on live sometimes. Children dressing up and dancing, wearing cultural attires and so forth. It is a very good strategy. And also, if you have a trampoline at the back, if you have a very young kid, if it is not a very cold day, let them jump there a lot more. Or even if you have a good backyard, let them kick some kind of soccer and so forth. You just need to make sure that you make them busy. You let them do some other thing depending on their age. Let them help you. Let them do some cleaning, just as part of teaching kid. Some people, what they do in this country as part of being a authoritative parent, you need to actually sometime employ your children to help. By employing, I mean is if they do something and you put away some coin for them, whatever dollar, um, that and say this can build up so that you can buy something good for yourself in the future, they will get used to that. There are very, very basic trick that can change and alter children behaviors. Sit down together with them and have some plan about behaviors. How can, depending again on their age group, how can we behave better in this house? let them talk, encourage them. What should we do when people don't listen to each other? What should we do when people are refusing to go to bed? What should we do when we are eating? You know, at eating time, we should all be on the dinner table and all of this. When you set the rules, the house rule together with them, actually, they're going to be very effective. If you can write and read, you write those things together with them, what they are telling you, and even pin them on the wall somewhere. Or one of the elder child can do that. And actually, when they have those one very visible, they will follow through. Because most of the time, when you agree on something with the children, certain behaviors, for example, my son can ask for iPad, and he would say, and I will say no, because when I give you, you don't give it back to me, so I'm not gonna let you have it. And he will say, no, I'm gonna give you whenever you ask for it, or whenever this particular time come, I'll give it to you. And it's only 4. So when I give it to him, and when that time come, and I said, can I have it? And if he said no, I will say, next time I'm not gonna trust you enough to give you the iPad because you say no now. And he will just hand it back to me. When you have something very assertive and authoritative put in place and the child understand, they will comply to it. Time out can be another, rather than picking up something and beat them up. Put them time out somewhere or deprive them something that is important, maybe favorite TV or anything like that. There are a lot of ideas that I can share, but because this is not the right time for it, we'll have this forum from time to time so that we can have some kind of discussion. But if there are also questions from the audience, I'm happy for us to answer. Sarah is unable to join in, but we will fix the Zoom issue so that we can have the capacity so that all of us can be on the panel. But if there are any questions coming from the audience,
Yeah, there is one question from Deng Nyok. The question is, what factor would you need to take into consideration when dealing with youth who are abusing AOD?
And then you can go.
Yeah, it's young people. I mean, the question goes to how does one deal with young people who, abuse alcohol and other drugs, and then again, it's one of those challenging issues that parents of teenagers have to contend with, and during a time like this, young people are also, like adults, would probably be compelled by the pressure that is exerted on them by these external factors to want to use alcohol. Uh, and that's why it is important to understand where is this behavior coming from. If possible, talk to the young person, understand from them what is it that is leading them to abuse or alcohol and other drugs. What do they think would help? And if possible, encourage them to use support in order to be able to cope and overcome the problem that they've become accustomed to. Again, we need, in this situation, those some young people who would be using alcohol would be faced with the challenges of coming of age, and now in this society we know that when you're becoming a particular age, you need to have license to be able to drive. And so if that is no longer, there's no possibility of you to hold that, it causes stress. If you are wanting to secure work, and then there's no opportunities to do so now, given that the unemployment rate is going up. It gives you, or it makes you to become hopeless. If you're going to if you're going to school and you felt that you've set yourself up with the routines of going to university, and that's where you would be studying, or you go to school and after school, all those routines have been thrown out of whack. So nothing is in place as it used to be. And so young people need to find a way of bringing a structure into their own life as well, and working on short-term goals. For example, what can they do if they wanted to get their license in this during this lockdown, in order to be ready for when it is possible for them to go for a driver license? What can they do in order for them to be ready for work when opportunities do start to increase? It doesn't mean that they should not be submitting their resume now. Every resume you submit, every knockback that you get, it gives you a clue as to what you might need to tweak. But yeah, parents need to find a way to be able to communicate with their kids and not just dismiss them. But I also understand that there will be some parents that have tried their best to work with their kids and they're not getting anywhere. Again, that's when they need to seek support for themselves as parents and encourage the children to seek support so that the family is supported to deal with that issue that if it's not attended to, could blow out of proportion. Santino, become an opportunity for you to add something, I think.
Yeah. You have really answered it very well. You know what happened is that young people, there is a young boy who wrote a book called My Journey So Far. I don't know many of you whether you are aware of. Sorry for that. I don't have a copy of My Journey So Far. The young man expressed his feeling on how the community should positively play a role. They blame the community of being judgmental at some stage. People are too critics, and parents also don't know what children are going through. So we need to develop a friendship with young people, and also develop policies of not even disclosing whatever the child shares with you with other people, because they fear of their privacy. So I think I agree with you. Before we finish, the last question, I'm sorry that Sarah couldn't join us, but she will join you later on when Zoom work, or if you decided to come back again. Many things have been said about the COVID-19 from since it start. Some of them are, are not close to truth. People are wondering of what could be the cause, what can be the treatments, So there are a lot of theories around COVID-19. And you people have been working with people, psychologists, and how do we really get it up? This, this issue of wandering around of what are the causes? Is it a man-made? Is it natural? All these things. What can we do to treat it? There are some times that I said, okay, if I had to go home, it can easily be treated by drinking a we, because in the past, back home, sometime if you have a common cold and then you caught like a flu, start coughing, you will drink a we, kept for 3 days, and easily it can cure, coughing. So really to tell us all these theories, what can we take as ordinary people? I'm talking about what are the myths about COVID-19? Because
as I said earlier, there are a lot of information out there that are very unreliable, and they can cause a lot of distress. But what is important is sometimes we are, as I said earlier, we are in it actually. We are in this COVID-19 situation. And what is important now is not the theories about it, whether, how it came about or what can be done about it. It's actually a matter of survival. How can we survive beyond this? And as I'm not a, when it comes to those who are have medical background, I'm not that. That's not my background. But what I understand is there are a lot of theories out there, and we know some leaders even kind of said, it was made somewhere or was some people are saying it was intentionally made to reduce the population. And there are a lot of things that are out there. Now is not really a time that we will understand whether coronavirus is this and that, whether there are some people who are very ignorant about it as well. They think that it doesn't exist. But yet there are a lot of experience now for us in Melbourne. I don't think in Victoria here, I don't think that a lot of people will deny coronavirus anymore because a lot of people experience it more than ever before. So we don't know how long it will take for the treatment to come out. We know that Russia has been saying that they are approving vaccine. We don't know that if that can be effective because of the time it takes for the trial for the new vaccine to be approved. There are a lot of things that are going on out there, but what I can urge people to do at this point in time, most of the time, is to go onto the government website. Especially for those in Victoria, they can go to DHHS website to get update, and also the World Health Organization have some very, very important information about coronavirus, the myths and facts about it, and they can visit that. But if people are unable to visit those places, and if they know someone who might have some information, you need to talk to people, and people can come together like this and talk about it and really understand some of the myths that are out there, some misinformation that are out there. I can't answer the question directly, but that's the best I can say.
Mr. Deng, this is your turn. We're almost finishing. Thanks so much. I know you people had a long day.
Yes, quite a long day. We started at 9 o'clock, but I think we've volunteered ourselves to participate in this forum tonight. And I think the energy hasn't yet, decreased in us. We still got a little bit left in the tank to keep moving. Back to the COVID-19 and the myth. At times like this, and more than ever, it is prudent for all of us to be able to trust and follow the directions that is being given to us by our governments and medical experts. And governments are relying on medical experts to be able to make certain decisions and policies that are impacting us in so many ways. People who are saying that there's no coronavirus and what have you, I think, as Santino said before, in Melbourne now, I think, say that all of us at least know one person, if not a couple of people that have contracted coronavirus. The impact on individuals, again, is quite different. Some would have no symptoms at all. Some would have severe symptoms. And then some, would go back for retests after the stated time, and it will be found that it's out of their system. And some people would go back and it's still found in their system, no matter how many times they go for retest. And we don't know, how long it takes for those symptoms to disappear. So what we can say is that coronavirus is real. we need to follow the directions that is being given to us by the medical experts. And these decisions are not made lightly. Now we are being required to wear face masks. Follow that direction. Let's go into follow the lockdown requirements, and if we all doing our bit, hopefully this thing would be over soon. And yeah, what I can say is the origin of it. There's a lot of speculation as to where it would have come from. Only time will tell. At this point in time, we don't have any medicine, be it a vaccine or even something to cure it. So all we need to do is be able to protect ourselves from contracting it, and that's why it's important for young people as well to minimize their movement, because when you go out there, you contract the disease, you bring it home to your vulnerable family members. The consequences can be quite severe. There are other myths which say that young people, can, one fall sick or one even contract it. We know that now there are young people who have been able to contract the disease, and they've been able to struggle with it in quite dramatic ways. So all these myths, as Santino said, go to health and government websites, and you should be able to read them for yourself. And if you're not able to read, find someone else who is able to read that and familiarize yourself with the disease itself and how it can be minimized.
And can I also add, Peter, so that before we finish,
yes.
they use young people that are really struggling. I just sent you a link there. I didn't quite know how to share it here. You can share it there on Facebook. And there is a program for young people, IT and the legal. It's something that is being done online, and actually to help, especially in Victoria here, to help young people engage into IT so that they can learn some basic knowledge about how to get jobs, how to be safe while you are on the internet. And also the legal side of it is to learn about their rights when they are in any trouble, or if they are working somewhere and stopped by somebody or police and what have you, or abuse, what they can do through that situation. Because sometimes we seem to react to issues when we have problem. That's when we search for solution, but we need to equip ourselves with enough knowledge so that when you are out there, you can you know what to do. And so that program is being run by Sud Foundation, I think funded by DPC, Department of Cabinet Affairs, Premier and Cabinet Affairs, and they will get certificate, and they can be also be connected to potential employers. So age between 12 and 25, young people can enroll into that program. They can enroll online through that link that I just sent you, or they can make contact with those who are doing IT. We are very prominent. One of the prominent lawyer who practice in Putre here is the one that is running legal training. Another prominent IT, couple of them actually, very prominent South Sudanese and other African in IT. So it is an opportunity, and sometime, most of the time, not sometime, most of the time in our community, we don't utilize the resources out there to equip us. So we need to make sure that we share information. And as I said again, if people don't ask, if you're struggling with something and you don't ask, nobody will know what you're struggling with. So you need to yell out. It's like they said in our language, is crying is better than keeping quiet. For example, if you are in a situation. So yeah, I think Winnie is also writing something here that there is also working for the Victoria Initiative. Yes, I have seen that as well, which is a good resources for people who have lost job as a result of COVID-19. You can access to job vacancies and employers through this, through their website, and Winnie, I think, can share it there as well. So there are a lot that we can share through this program. And hopefully by next week we'll have it on Friday, or we'll sort out the Zoom so that people who want to join on Zoom can join on Zoom, and people who want to watch on Facebook can watch live on Facebook. But I assure you that we will sort out the Zoom issue, and sincerely apologize to our viewers who were about to join at from 5 o'clock today. But I want to take the opportunity to thank Peter for taking the opportunity to host us, because we don't want to just do it live on Facebook, and then that means we will not have a panelist. We'll only have one person invited at a time, but we won't have a panelist sitting up here and have the interaction. But as I promised, the next session will include interaction. And when we are on Zoom, that means people can talk, and we can even see, we can see each other talking to one another. The Zoom that I'm talking about will be hosting about 300 people, so that we can have that capacity to interact more. And thank you. Over to you, Peter. And thank you, Deng and Winnie and Sarah. Sorry, Sarah, the technology has made it hard for us tonight, but yeah, we'll work hard next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having considered the Africa Wellbook platform. It is yours as well, so feel free anytime. We are also providing community education. Some of you have been supporting Africa Wellbooks all along. People like yourself, Santino, and Deng. I'm still doing the same job. And the good news is that a lot of books are coming out. Even Dr. Francis' book is coming out in the next few weeks. The same thing, Dr. Lual Deng. Lama's book will come out tonight or the next. So keep visiting us as well. So we are kind of like selling books to those who are watching. I'm not a journalist. In case if I have not asked the right question, I'm just someone who is hosting the program. So I apologize for any inconvenience, and also if there are technical issues. And if you have any questions in the future, you can also contact people like Deng and Santino, Sarah and Winnie. We acknowledge all your contributions, and it is a huge effort. We need to educate our community, and actually, young people we aim at involving them along such that we have their input. So, thanks once again. Things we will end the show, and I wish you all the best. Take care of yourself, but feel free anytime. We are here to host the community if there is community education. We don't have many people who view it, like we don't have a couple of hundred to watch the programs for some reason, but God said many were called and few were chosen. The chosen few are very much appreciated, and they are always with us because we deal with education. So I think that's the end of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your support. Thank my fellow panel for their contribution tonight. I would also like to encourage members of our community who are living in Victoria to reach out. We understand that these are difficult times for all of us, and we need to hold each other's hand in order to emerge on the other side, at least in a relatively good shape. And if we are not able to provide the service to you, we will try our best to link you in with other services that can support you. The government understand that our community needs resources, and they've put in place some resources to be able to support the community. But people need to ask for them to be shown where they are. For those who are getting information about where the services are, often people get information and they fail to go out there and share that information. Please share it with others so those resources are being used widely by the community. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. We'll see you all next Friday. If need be, we might do it a bit earlier. So it depends. Thank you, and thank you, Peter. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
That was the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good night. Thank you.